All right, this is for Algebra 1. We are looking at fractions and some operations with them. So the first example that you have in your notes is second. 2/3 times 4/5. Now, when you think about multiplying fractions, there's kind of some steps involved that we want to always make sure that we do. The first step is we want to change to improper fractions if needed. Just to make sure that we're clear on this, improper fractions would be examples like 5/4, 3/2, etc. Mixed numbers are a whole number, and a fraction. So like 1 1/4 or 1 1/2. I prefer for my classroom actually for you to generally keep things in improper fractions. If you want to change them to mixed numbers, that's fine too, no problem. So change to improper fractions if needed. The next step is you're going to want to multiply across the top and bottom. So if you look over here, we don't need to change to improper fractions, so I can go ahead and multiply across the top and bottom. 2 times 4 is 8, 3 times 5 is 15. And then in this case, we just want to make sure that we reduce if needed. So when you look at this example, you say, do any numbers go into 8 and 15? I don't see anything besides 1, so that would be our final answer. So step 4 here. All right, so let's look at example 4, division. On your paper, you have the example of 5/6 divided by 2/3. Okay, so let's go through the steps. The same first step is multiplication. You're going to change to improper fractions if needed. Okay. The next step is with division, you want to flip over the second fraction and change sign to multiplication. Okay, so let's go ahead and take these steps. So first fraction is going to stay the same. Second one, we're going to flip over and change our sign to multiplication. And then we're going to go ahead and do the same thing as before. So we're going to multiply across the top and bottom. Okay, and then so we'll do that. So 5 times 3 is 15, and 6 times 2 is 12. And then the last step is reduce if needed. In this case, there is actually a number that we can divide into the top and bottom. Take a moment and see if you can think of it on your own. And the number you should have found is we can divide the top and bottom by 3. 15 divided by 3 is going to be 5, and 12 divided by 3 is 4. And I'm fine if you leave it as an improper fraction. If you'd like to also have it as a mixed number, your answer could also be 1 1/4. 4 goes, how many 4s go into 5? 1, you're left over with 1, so 1 1/4. Alright, next one is addition and subtraction. If you look at your examples, we have 2 examples here. We have 2/7 plus 3/5, and we also have the example of 2/5 plus, or not plus, minus 1/10. Alright, addition and subtraction starts out the same way. You're going to change to improper fractions if needed, and both of these examples don't have that need. The next thing is a little bit different. We're going to have to find a common denominator if we need to, if needed. So for example here, 7 and 5, you want to find a number, hopefully the lowest one they both multiply to, so I'm going to use 35. That's my common denominator. And then when I think about this, I'm saying, okay, what am I multiplying by to get to 35, both the top and bottom? Well, I'm multiplying both the top and bottom. 7 times what equals 35? Well, it's going to be 5 multiplying everything by 5. Oops, excuse me. So I'm going to say times 5. 2 times 5 is going to be 10. Over here, if you look at what are we multiplying everything by, well, we're multiplying everything by the top and bottom by, think of it really like 7 over 7. It should be 5 over 5. So 5 times 7 is 35, 3 times 7 is 21. 7 over 7 and 5 over 5 are 1, so it doesn't change the value of our fractions. 10 plus 21 is going to be 31 over 35. And kind of not needed, and we went ahead, I'm going to say here add or subtract across the top or numerator. The last step is again reduce if needed. You'll notice here there's no numbers that go into 31 and 35, so I'm going to go ahead and leave that as my final answer. For this next problem, mind you, maybe if you'd like to, you can pause this and you can try it on your own. 5 and 10, they do have a common denominator of 50. You could use that, or you could also use 10. I'm going to use 10 because it's a little bit lower, but in the end, you should still get the same answer. Or I can show you the other way on the side. Okay, and you say, okay, so 5 times what is going to give me 10? Well, 2 over 2. 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 2 is 4. 10 times what will give me 10? Well, just 1, so it stays the same. Now we add or subtract across the top, so 4 minus 1 is 3, and we get 3 over 10. Can't be reduced. There's my final answer. Now, if you want to do it the other way, so if you want to use 50 as your common denominator, it would work out as well. It's just a little bit more process involved. So again, we say, okay, 5 times what is going to give me 50? Well, we do 10 over 10, so 2 times 10 is 20. And then we say, okay, what's going to get me to 50? 10 times what equals 50? Will be 5, so 1 times 5 is 5. 20 minus 5 is going to be 15 over 50, and here we can reduce. We can divide the top and bottom by 5, so you get 3 over 10, and you'll notice that these match up. Okay, so if you're dealing with a mixed number, well, you can just change it to an improper fraction. I'll show you what I mean by this. So for example, example 5 is 1 there we go, 1 3/4 times 2 1/8. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and change it to a mixed number or improper fraction. 1 times 4 is 4, plus 3 is 7 over 4. 2 times 8 is 16, plus 1 is 17 over 8. From here we want to multiply across the top and bottom. So 7 times 17 is going to be 119 over 32. And there are no numbers that go to the top and bottom, so that is our final answer. Example 6 that you have on your paper is 2 and 3/4 divided by 4. We work through this. I'm going to go ahead and first change it to the improper fractions. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 3 is 11 over 4. And I'm going to change 4 to be 4/1, so it's also a fraction. Whoop, excuse me. Our next step is we're going to go ahead and flip over the second fraction and change the sign to multiplication. 1 times 11 is 11. 4 times 4 is 16. Can't reduce by anything, so there is our final answer, 11 over 16. Example 7, the problem that you have is 2 3/5 plus 3 3/5. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and change these into improper fractions. 2 times 5 is 10, plus 3 is 13 over 5, plus 3 times 5 is 15, plus 3 is 18 over 5. We have a common denominator, so we're just going to keep that the same on the bottom. And then if we do 13 plus 18, I'm going to get 31. We can't reduce this at all, so that is fine for your final answer. And again, if you want to change it to a mixed number, that's fine. 5 goes into 31 6 times. We're left over with 1. So 6 1/5 would also be fine. The last example you see there is 1 5/7 minus 1 2/7. So again, change to improper fractions. 1 times 7 is 7. Plus 5 is 12 over 7. 1 times 7 is 7. Plus 2 is 9 over 7. We have a common denominator. So then we just subtract across the top. 12 minus 9 is 3. We can't reduce, so there's our final answer. Go ahead and try the next pages, see how you do with the practice. If you need help, you can always come over and we can work on it together.